Hi, I'm Fran Foster, past master of Setauket Lodge in East Bridgewater. Welcome to our 25th program on what it means to be a Mason. With me today is Demetrios John Sarantopoulos. Morning, Jimmy.
Morning.
How you doing?
Great. Couldn't be any better.
Jimmy is the past district deputy of the Brockton 29th District, and he just went in to be installed as master of St. George Lodge for the second time around. How come that happened, Jim?
Well, I know. I was master in 1971. And that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would be master again, but I've been treasurer of the lodge ever since then. When I came out of office in 1972, we were in the want of a treasurer. So I started to fill that particular seat, and I've been the treasurer ever since. And here it is, 1998, and I'm still the treasurer. But we developed a glitch in the line. One of our officers, a senior warden, Robert Balcom, got transferred, and he had to leave the state. And there was also a junior warden that left the state also, transfer of jobs. And that left a vacancy. And as you know, you can't be master of a lodge without serving a junior warden or a senior warden. And it wouldn't have been very proper to put somebody else in line. So he scoured the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. And I decided to give up my station as treasurer for 1 or 2 years and serve as master of the lodge. It's quite an experience. I've never thought I'd ever try to figure out what to say in my notice. It took me, I think, 3 days to finally finalize my notice, but it's been a long time, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. And all the fellows that I've known in the lodges throughout the past 35 years are certainly helping me along.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know,
it's a very rewarding experience to be master of a lodge.
You know, until the members take a position in the lodge to know what the duties are of just a simple lodge officer.
Yeah.
You know, I think if they did that, they would never criticize a lodge officer again.
Well, actually, you are the CEO of the corporation.
Small corporation.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
Cook, bottle washer, and everything.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All of a sudden, you get installed, and it's as if the heavens opened up and you know everything. People come to you and say, "Worship, what are you going to do now? Are we going to do this? We're going to do that? Are we gonna do that?" I mean, I haven't even gotten into the station already, and they're asking me.
Yeah.
Get phone calls all the time. It's more to it than most people really realize, but it's a very rewarding experience, and
Yes,
I
it is.
highly recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I can't remember. Way back when I was 16, 17 years old, I can't remember what I was doing then. Masonry has done so much for me that I would spend 5 hours sitting here telling you and boring you all with it. But
Well, you once did a program for a Masonic forum
yes,
on why I became a Mason.
that's right.
Jimmy, I couldn't be there that night for some reason.
Oh, really?
Can you tell me now why you became a Mason?
Well, you know, first of all, let me preface everything by saying to you that I was very active in my church. I've been on the board of directors of the church. I've been a Sunday school teacher for 35 years, and very much into the church. But you know, something was lacking. When you're a member of a church, so to speak, you're really cloistered with your own group. You know, there's no outside activity of any kind. You don't know anybody outside of your group. If you go and travel by bus, you're always going to another church, but it's the same denomination. But you're not getting a wide range of individuals, and that's what was lacking. Not that there's nothing wrong with that. Don't misunderstand me. But I wanted a little bit more, and I didn't want to give up my church life. So
You didn't have to.
No, of course, that's why I didn't want to. I mean, you could become a Mooney, you could become all kinds of other things, but I didn't want to give up church activities to do something else. I wanted something that I could combine with it.
Yeah.
So at the time, I got married very young. I was 20, almost 21 when I got married, and my wife's the same age. And my landlord at the time, who I really admired, he was quite a man. I went downstairs. He lived on the first floor, and I lived on the third floor, and to pay my rent on a Friday night. And as I paid my rent, I noticed that he had a ring on his finger. And I asked him what that ring was. It happened to be a Shriner's ring.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, "That's a Shriner's ring." I said, "Oh, I've heard about the Shriners. What do they do?" He says, well, they do a lot of good. And he didn't elaborate. He just said they'll do a lot of good. But you have to be a Mason first before you can become a Shriner.
A lot of people don't know that.
No, they don't. And that's what upsets me more than anything, because I think that Masonry should be used in a lot of organizations to denote the fact that you have to become a Mason before you can be anything else. And as a result, he said to me, but you have to be a Mason. And I said, what are Masons? And he said, well, it's a fraternity, and unlike a fraternity in college, he said, and I think maybe you might enjoy it. Would you like to learn something about it? And I said, yeah, I think I would. And knowing that I admired the man to begin with, I knew that he wasn't going to lead me astray. The very next night,
Didn't waste any time.
No, he didn't. I was down at the lodge filling out a pre-application. And I'll tell you, even though you join the lodge, you really don't know if it's going to be what you want. And I think a lot of people, when they join a fraternity like ours, which happens to be one of the largest in the world, as you know.
Oh, yeah, it's international.
Oh, it's all over the world. They really don't understand what it's all about. And I wanted to find something out about it also. Well, in the process of going for that pre-application, you hear the usual things, the lodge, fraternity, they do this, they do that, but you still don't know if it's for you. And I made it quite clear to the men that I was there with. One of them was the master, and I said, Master, and they were addressing him as worshipful. I'm saying, this is something else. But they were very upfront with me. They told me, don't worry about it. It's purely, on your own volition and so on and so forth. But let me tell you something, Fran. It was the best thing I ever did in my life. I don't know what I would have done in all these years without Masonry. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. I have tried to do as much as I possibly could in the lodge. I ate it up, so to speak. Yeah. My wife has been a tremendous asset to me. She has never once ever told me, don't go, don't do this, don't do that. She's encouraged me. And as a result, in 1969, here's a funny quip. In 1969, as you know, there's a ladder in the Masonry. There's the Blue Lodge, and there's a chapter, the Council, and the Commandery. Well, it takes at the least 7 years to become a master of a lodge. Some done it in 4 and 5 years. It took me 7 years. And when I liked the lodge so much that they asked me to become an officer, and I jumped at it. And I stepped right in as a steward. And but I also joined the chapter at the same time. And the following year, I went in line in the chapter, and I became the head officer in the chapter in 1969. And when I became installed into the chapter, it was something that was put in the newspaper that I was the high priest of Setauket chapter. When I went to church that particular following Sunday, my priest at the time was Father George Stephanides, and he said to me, excuse me, what is this high priest I see in the paper? He says, I'm a priest, but I will never aspire to become a high priest. What makes you think that you're a high priest? And I laughed, and he laughed because he understood what I was saying. And I tried to tell him it's only a title, and that I'm only the president of the organization. And then, of course, there was all these titles that they put on you as you go through the line. Yeah. And they're all just titles. They don't mean anything. But in 1969, I was high priest of the chapter. In 1971, I was master of my Blue Lodge. And then I've aspired to become the illustrious master of the council and a commander in the commandery. And I've also been a district deputy, as you know, in the Blue Lodge, and a deputy in the chapter and a deputy in the council. So I think I've done about all I want to do. And now I'm around doing my thing. I think that now I can pick and choose what I want to do. And as a result, I'm here in this program today, trying to enlighten people about Masonry. Yeah. And anybody that that needs any organization to make him a better individual, it's the lodge.
All right. Yes.
I'm telling you right now, every one of the men that I tell, and you're one of them, that I've told them between the ages of 16 and 21, that if anybody had told me that I would be on a television program today talking to somebody about Masonry, I would have, you know what I would have told them.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. I was an introvert. I wouldn't speak in front of a crowd for nothing.
It has helped with the personal skills of talking with people.
That's right.
Associating
That's right.
with other men.
There's only one mistake I made, though. the mistake I made was that I loved the lodge so much that I devoted as much time as I could to it. You know the old rule that they say it's only one day a month.
Yeah, right.
Well, we have to be upfront. If you want to participate in all the things that you want to participate in, I overdid it. I'll be very truthful with you. I overdid it. A lot of people get burnt out, but I didn't. I enjoyed it. But I got involved so much that I was out of the house 6, 7 nights a week. I was so involved in it. And as a result, I have 2 sons now. One's 32, and the other one is 28. And I quipped one day and said to them, you know, one of these days I'd expect to see you join the lodge. And they looked me straight in the eye and they said, Dad, I could never put the time in that you put in, thinking that you had to put all that time in to become a Mason, and that's not true. So I slipped up a little. So I spend a lot of time now correcting them and correcting these images that have been portrayed, because people don't realize the image that they portray to people when they are overzealous about something, you know? So,
Well, you mentioned all the time you put in, but you know, the old idea, you can only get out of an organization what you put into it.
right.
If you don't put anything into it,
No.
you will get nothing from it.
Well, I derived all the associations, other than the church associations. I certainly got that out of it.
Yeah.
My circle of friends, it's the most amazing thing to go from here to the tip of the Cape, or from here to the North Shore to New Hampshire, or to New York, and stop at a lodge meeting and walk in and know somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. And if you don't know them, you know them.
Yeah, you're
If you-
instantly among friends.
It's amazing. You get the same feeling in a church, don't misunderstand me. But again, the church is your own group of individuals, you know? If that was the case, you'd never learn another language.
Now,
you know?
you mentioned when you were district deputy. Well, it is the custom of at least the top 3 officers of all of the lodges. Now, there are 8 lodges in the Brockton 29th district.
Right.
So it is the custom of all of the lodges, the top 3 officers, to go on these visitations with the district deputy.
Right.
Once in the spring for a fraternal,
Right.
and once in the fall for an official.
Right.
Well, I started, if you remember, I started going out with you
Right.
on your visitations.
Right.
And one of the past district deputies in this district says to me, I had my tux on, says, Daddy Warbucks.
Oh, absolutely.
And it has stuck all those years.
Well, I mean, I don't want to know about the audience out there, but if you don't look like Daddy Warbucks, then nobody does.
Oh, it's been an awful lot of fun.
Of course, I used that so many times on visitations when I introduced you.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought that sometimes you might have taken offense, but you never did.
No.
And you know, it's one of those things that stuck to you. But now I'm sure it's waning.
No.
Really?
Just last night, one of the same person says, Hi, Daddy.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's been great.
I'm sure it has.
But you know, can you explain to me a little bit? I know I have my own ideas. What is Freemasonry?
Well, outside of the fact that it's a fraternal organization, it's a lot of things to different people. My understanding of Masonry, it might be different than yours. Many people think that it's a religion. Many people think that it's a cult. Many people think all kinds of things. And far be it from me to tell them differently if they don't want to know differently. So my own